To begin this video, let me pitch you an anime. This anime has incredible writing and world building, as expected of its writer Tappei Nagatsuki, well renowned for his most famous work Re:Zero, which is one of the most popular anime of the 2010s and a staple of the isekai genre. This anime is also absolutely beautiful, having been animated by Wit Studio, the same animators behind, Attack on Titan, Vinland Saga and The Great Pretender, some of the best looking anime in the past couple of years, and combine all this with one of the best soundtracks in modern anime, a diverse blend of more fast-paced drum and bass and dubstep, with much more mellow and charismatic J-pop to fit the tone of the scene. Combine these attributes and it would seem like you'd have a pretty amazing show when combining all this talent into one project. And that's exactly right, we do have a pretty amazing show that is airing right now. And it goes by the name Vivy Florai Ice Song. A title I still don't understand, but something I do understand is that all the stars aligned for what is a fantastic anime. A great writer, great animators, a great soundtrack. So answer me this. Why is this show so unpopular? How is it possible it's breached into the top 100 anime of all time on YAAW, 2 places higher than the first season of Attack on Titan, yet no one is talking about it for some reason, and I genuinely don't understand why that is, because it is as great as you may expect it to be, and the aim of this video is to try and give it the recognition it deserves. So now that I've made my point pretty clear that this anime is not so much underrated as it is underwatched, because I'd rather watch My Hero Academia Season 17, because my passion is generic shonen action, and I care for nothing else in life, yep, that's me. But in all seriousness though, let me talk you through a Vivy Florai Ice Song, or simply just Vivy, and set the premise for this anime and tell you why I think it's so good, and potentially could turn out to be one of the best anime of 2021 in my opinion. And I swear, if this anime doesn't get at least nominated for Best Animation or Best Score at this year's Anime Awards, we're gonna have a couple problems. Right, so let's get into it then. Vivy is an anime original dystopian sci-fi story that began airing in April this year and is due to come to an end later on this month. And it is of course the second piece of work from Tappei Nagatsuki after his debut hit, Re:Zero. The anime follows our protagonist and namesake, Vivy, the world's first autonomous humanoid AI who works as a singer at an AI-themed amusement park known as Nearland in the year 2056. However, about 100 years after that, in the year 2161, at a time where AIs have advanced so much to be almost completely indistinguishable from normal humans, war breaks out between humans and AI, resulting in an AI by the name of Matsumoto to be sent back in time to stop this war from occurring, dubbed the Singularity Project. Matsumoto then meets up with Vivy back in the year 2056, in an effort to complete the project by altering certain singularity points, to spark a chain reaction to eventually prevent the war that is set to occur 100 years into the future. These so-called singularity points are major events throughout the 100-year time span that contribute towards the war between AI and humans. For example, the first point concerns the passing of the AI naming law. This law attempts to grant a level of basic human rights for AIs, and it's these social privileges that ultimately play a large part in the betrayal of humans from AI in the future. And this is what I love about this anime, the ideas brought to the table are incredibly interesting and delve deeper than just robot waifus and instead focus heavily on the social and ethical concerns about artificial intelligence, a problem that's already beginning to arise in our world today. As technology continues to advance, AI technology also advances at a proportional rate, to the point where we see AIs display emotion and personality identical to humans. Case in point, later on in the future timeline, a famous AI pop star commits suicide, further contributing to evidence that AI can indeed display deep emotion to the point where they'd even want to end their own life. This all makes the somewhat simple Terminator-esque premise feel much more complex. This is one of those anime that'll keep you thinking for quite a long time, just because of how fascinating these ideas are and how scarily realistic they can be. This is also the same reason I adore something like Psycho Pass. The ideas of totalitarianism and lack of freedom in that anime concerning a dystopian future are likewise incredibly interesting to me, with both of these anime painting a picture of a realistic yet worst case scenario for the future. And I'm not surprised at all that on YAAW the top recommendations for those who watched Vivy are Psycho Pass, Steins Gate and Violet Evergarden. Psycho Pass for what I just said, Steins Gate for, you know, time travel and all that good stuff, and most of all, Violet Evergarden, obviously in relation to our protagonist, Vivy. Vivy has fantastic character development in my opinion, starting out as an AI with the sole purpose of singing and putting on a performance to the much more complex characteristics she displays later on as technology advances and she grows older in the timeline. And speaking of which, I won't lie, one thing that does get a little bit confusing is the sheer amount of time that flashes past, with whole decades going by between episodes, to the point where I think I need an official timeline to map out all the points between Vivy's quote-unquote birth to the start of the war in 2156. But anyway, back to the point at hand, and Vivy is an amazing character in my opinion, creating a great coming of age story in relation to her purpose as an AI singer, evolving from a crowd of only about a couple people to almost legendary status as a pop star over 60 years later. And our sidekick protagonist Matsumoto serves as this anime's comic relief character and is a great addition to the cast. He's funny and serves as a contrasting personality from Vivy, which further emphasises the huge leap in AI technology between Vivy in 2056 and Matsumoto, who'd been sent back in time from 2161. Overall, Vivy has a pretty small cast. Matsumoto and Vivy are our main duo throughout the entire series, with most side characters appearing periodically for certain points throughout the series, such as Estella, Elizabeth, Grace and Ophelia, only appearing in their respective episodes. And another thing I love about Vivy is how everything begins to make sense over time as more and more plot points are unveiled, similar to Bacano in that regard. All the major plot points eventually weave together to tie up any loose ends, and it's pretty satisfying whenever we get a new revelation which allows us to understand the timeline even more. But anyway, by this point I've praised the ideas and the plot enough without getting into any major spoilers, but one thing I haven't talked about yet that I alluded to right at the start is the animation. As I said, it's by Wit Studio, and my god, it shows, as this anime is downright beautiful in some shots. One thing I think Wit Studio has always excelled at, especially with Attack on Titan and Vinland Saga, is close-up shots on a character's face to capture emotion, and Vivy is no exception. A lot of these shots are so incredibly smooth and detailed. I don't know how they kept up with this level of quality throughout, and I commend them for how much work it must have been to get it to this caliber of detail. But as impressive as these shots are, they are ultimately still images, and when we get onto the more fast-paced action scenes on the other hand, the animation is still just as high quality. I mean, did you really think it would be anything else? All of the action scenes have incredibly smooth and fluid animation, especially with a lot of the hand-to-hand combat scenes, and I really don't know what else to say. It is Wit Studio at the end of the day. They gave us Attack on Titan, so naturally the animation was going to be top-notch. So the last thing I want to talk about is the soundtrack, because it is amazing. Each track complements the tone and the mood of any given scene perfectly, whether it's fast-paced electronic music during an action scene, or a calmer melodic J-pop song for some of the more emotional scenes, and it all works pretty well in my opinion, especially for someone like me who doesn't know the first thing about music. Also, a small little thing I found pretty cool is that on a couple of instances, as Vivy is an AI singer, the opening is treated as an actual performance and directly follows on from the previous scene, such as in episode 5, which I just found really cool and unique. You never normally see the opening actually incorporated into the scene itself. Oh, and also, for the record, the opening is just incredible. It's one of those openings you'll never skip, and I can't explain why, but it's definitely one of my favourite openings I've seen of any anime recently. So with that being said, I think I'm gonna wrap it up now. One final comment: as a massive fan of Formula 1, the fact that there was an AI called Leclerc did make me chuckle a bit, even though it is just a French surname, but whatever. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope by this point I've at least somewhat sold you on Vivy, as you should definitely give it a go, with 2 episodes still to go before it ends. And with that, be sure to subscribe, comment, share, and I'll be back in the next video. See ya!